We're here at the Canadian Race Relations Foundation, and we're very honored as we mark Holocaust Remembrance Day, an international day that's coming now this year, 70 years after the liberation of Auschwitz, the death camp of Auschwitz. We've brought together our staff to mark this day by hearing the voice of Irene Csillag, who has honored us with her story and is number 4, I believe, of our 150 stories, because while her story takes place 70 plus years ago in Europe, she's very much a Canadian story. We should take, I think, inspiration from her story of what the power of survival can mean, even in the horror that she lived through. So thank you, Mrs. Csillag, for being here with us, and thank you to your daughter Judy for arranging this. You know that we've put your story up on the website, and I hope all our staff here have taken the time to read it. You've been in the country how long now? When did you arrive?
13 months.
13 months. You've been in this country 13
How long have you been in the country?
I thought in Auschwitz.
Yeah, we'll get back to that in a minute. But how long have you been in the country now? When did you arrive?
We arrived, I don't know how many months, how many years.
1956.
1956, yeah.
According to the story, it's 1957, just to be accurate. January 10th. So it just passed an anniversary date as well, which is what I was trying to get at, since dates are very significant in your story. But you arrived, I understand, on January 10th, 1957.
Yeah, there was a revolution in Hungary in 1957, and at that time we came away.
So tell us a little bit what you know. We know from your story that you ended up in Auschwitz, and so did your whole family. One thing I find interesting is you showed incredible courage throughout the most horrific ordeals. I don't think anybody can understand it that hasn't lived through it. What gave you that courage?
I don't know what gave me, but I remember what I said. It's not nice, but no, nothing was nice. It was around me, that bodies, and I said, if everybody would die, I'm gonna live. I had such a willing to live that I didn't even think about it.
Well, your story here, as written from Judy, gives us an all too real story of the struggle that you went through. One thing, the moment that got me in tears was when your dear mother passed away in front of your eyes.
My mother passed away, and then my sister started to fade away. And I was very, very scared. And I told her, don't you dare die to me, because I don't want to stay here alone. So I took her off the bed. It's not a bed, it's, the third, how do you call it?
Yeah, I think we've all seen the image of the wooden tiers.
Yeah. And I said that I'm gonna leave, and I took off. My sister put her down, and I said, you have to walk. So I said 1, 2, 3 every single day, and thank God finally she came off. She got better, and she lived, and 3 years ago she passed away.
Well, there was a blessing that you had her, that you were together for so many years.
We had her, And then
But she's asking about your mother.
my mother was a little heavy, and we have to take her off because we have to go to the celapel, you know.
The roll call.
Yeah. They counted us every day. I don't know why. Life was so cheap. Why did they have to know how many? And then one day it was so much raining, such a pouring rain, and it on the bottom was sand, and we were staying outside. I had a rug on me, not just me, everybody. So one of the I didn't know that she was pregnant. She came to Auschwitz, you know, that was in the beginning. And she was, I heard, she was standing in the back of me, and I heard some moving, some talking, and I said, what is it? So they said she gave birth to a baby. And she said, shh, don't talk, don't move, don't look. So with her feet, she made a hole.
She hid the baby.
And put the baby there, and then again it was the sand to hide it. Because people thinking, how could she do that? If she wouldn't do that, everybody would die. Us, 200, and inside the block. So it was something that she had to do it. So I heard that after she liberated, she went to Israel, and she said she doesn't want any more children. She was married, but so it just talking about it, you know, you can imagine.
It's
Just talking about it, for me, it takes me. I used to speak children, school children, and they called me so often. And I said, don't call me every month or every week.
It's hard to tell.
It's hard. I don't sleep before, and then I don't sleep after. So I spoke.
So that leads me to the question that I'm sure you've gotten before. It's hard for you to talk about it. So why do you talk about it? What do you hope? You've got a group of very young people in front of you. Most of them, I don't know how many have had the opportunity to hear a survivor. What do you want them to know?
Well, I hope that we doing something, and it's going to show, and that's never again, you know. It has a very strong message, you know. But I think that would work. I hope so. I'm not going to be around, but for you people, for you young people, I hope that you work on it, and it's going to succeed.
Well, never again. You know, in the last few days, we've heard messages from the Prime Minister of England. I think it's the President, excuse my lack of political knowledge, of France, from some leading rabbinical figures, that the situation now in Europe is like what it was in your time, before you went into the camps. What do you think about the saying never again, given what's going on in Europe now? What should we do?
You can't do much. You just work on it. You teach people, educated. The main thing to educate people, because unfortunately there are still people who said that doesn't happen. There are, you know,
Right? Holocaust deniers still
yeah,
exist.
Holocaust denier. But I hope we did the goal so far.
Have you made the trip back to Auschwitz?
Unfortunately, no. No, I never went back.
But your children are going to have the opportunity of doing that. So
Oh yeah, Judy was several times
In Auschwitz?
in Auschwitz.
I was
No,
never in
never in Auschwitz, right?
You were there.
No, I wasn't.
No. My granddaughter was there.
There you go. Because we know there's different programs that take the.
I would love to go. I would always love to go. Somehow, I don't know why it didn't happen.
Well, you were a busy mother.
She said, don't go.
So after the camps, after you were liberated, you ended up in a displaced person camp, I guess. Is that where you met your husband? Where did you meet your husband?
I met him in Germany.
In a displaced.
After the revolution, we stayed there. We got married. I got married there, and
He's a survivor as well, I believe, right?
there were a lot of weddings because there was so much women and almost half of the men.
Ugh, the odds were good.
Yeah, you know, women are stronger than the men.
Is that there were
Yeah.
a lot more
Yeah.
women that survived
Yeah.
than men? Was it also that they put the men to much harder labor than the
Yeah.
women? Was there a difference between how they treated the men and the women in the camp?
Not really. No, we were equal. But when Auschwitz went, and people were a wedding and again a wedding. A lot of women were single more than men.
So why did you decide then to go back to Hungary, where you were sent to the camps in the first place? I think that might be a
Because
question people
my
ask.
sister and we got married together, my sister and me, one day. He was going back to Hungary, and I said, I'm not going to divide myself again. I have no one, just that sister, so we're going to go.
Your sister
And we
went.
went and stayed 10 years in Hungary. I can't say I suffered. It was, and after 10 days we immigrated to that
After
lovely
10 years.
country.
So you did, and why Canada? Why did you decide Canada?
Because we were in Vienna and we wanted to go to the States, but you can't go because the quota was full. They did. So they said, go to Canada. It's the same thing. You come and go, which is not true. But, and then we didn't know. We know the USA exists. We didn't know there is a Canada. There is, we did. So, Canada, let's go to Canada. And I'm very glad that we didn't went to the States.
Any questions from the CRRF audience?
Can I talk?
Yes, Judy.
Well, I want to just talk a little bit about that story because because my mother, when we got to Vienna, was 7 months pregnant, and we had walked in December in waist-high snow from Budapest to Vienna. Okay, so they took her immediately to the hospital, And my father and I were put up in a residence that happened to be an empty jail. And he used to take me out every day for a walk. And one day, there were so many people defecting. And one day we were walking and he met a friend of his on the street. And he asked, they were talking, he says, "Where are you going?" He says, "I'm going to the Canadian Embassy to pick up my visa." So he goes, "You want to come?" So we went, and he went in, like go to pick up a passport, he went to pick up the visa, and the woman said, "Are you here for a visa too?" And my father said, "Yeah, sure." And that's how we ended up in Canada. These are the things that turn like fate. And she took out 3 things and she stamped them. And in 2 days we were on our way to Genoa. That's where we sailed from.
I could tell you one thing. I'm very glad that we came here, and I'm very thankful to that country that they took us in with nothing, just what you had on, and treated us very nicely. And here we are.
You settled in Toronto?
No, but yeah.
No, we went to Montreal.
You first went to Montreal,
We lived in Montreal.
lived in Montreal. So the
Yeah.
snow, you knew from the snow, I guess?
Not
Yeah.
that kind of snow.
I'm very glad that we are here. I went back to Hungary every single year for 10 years because my sister was sick. She was in a home, and I want to see her every single April. And now she
So
was,
your sister stayed in Hungary during the revolution times?
no,
Yes.
I'm in
Yeah, she
Yeah.
read, because you
Yeah.
left in 57, but she did not.
Yeah.
But you had a period
My
of time?
brother-in-law didn't want to come.
So there was a period of time when you didn't see her, though, I guess?
Let's see here.
But you went every year from 57?
Every single year
Oh, I
I went
see.
to see her.
Interesting. Well, you knew the importance of family. That's clear.
Yeah, I'm very family oriented.
Well, thank you. I hope you'll sleep peacefully tonight, because I think, bringing this message to people of never again from the voice of a
I
person
hope-
that
I hope
saw
it's
it
gonna
firsthand.
I hope.
Can I add a story? Because now that you're filming, it'll stay somewhere forever. In Europe, you usually have 2 kinds of weddings.
Do I have to tell them?
No, you have 2 kinds of weddings. One is a civil ceremony, and
Right.
one is a religious ceremony. So the religious ceremony my mother had with her sister, but the civil ceremony was with another couple that they had met in DP camp. Because my father's first thing that he had to do when he got to DP camp was set up a soccer team. So one of his friends who he played soccer with, my mother introduced him to one of the women she was with. So the 4 of them went off to Berchtesgaden to get married. Those people had decided that they were going to go to Holland, and my parents decided that they were going to go back to Hungary. 1957 comes, my mother's in the Jewish General Hospital giving birth. My father's going into the revolving door of the hospital and bumps into this woman. It didn't work out for them in Holland. They came to Montreal. So, and then they had been here since 1951, and her husband was driving a cab. So he went to the hospital to pick up my mother and the baby to bring them home. They started to see each other every year on their anniversary. Then eventually, about 20 years later, the other husband, passed away of cancer. On their 35th wedding anniversary, they called each other, and my mother invited this woman for dinner. On the day that she was supposed to come for dinner, she called that she couldn't come because she had fallen and twisted her ankle and she couldn't drive. So my mother said, get your daughter to drive you. So her daughter drove her to the dinner. My brother, who hadn't been living at home in years, came that night to do laundry, and that's my sister-in-law today. They got married. So if you want to know karma, and if you want to question the existence of a higher power, you know,
it's a miracle. There are some miracles. That I live. That's a miracle.
Well, we're grateful.
I have a question. You know, you're talking about miracles and the devastating experience of being in the camps, and we've just finished a project about faith and belief. And I wondered, how did it impact your relationship with God and your faith? Did it have an impact on your beliefs?
The relationship.
no,
She's asking, you know,
Your
with
religion.
Your religion.
the
How did
awful things that happened in the Holocaust,
and the good miracles.
and the awful things happened. You lost your family. We don't need to go over it. But yet you survived. Did you come out believing more in God or less in God? Do you blame God? Do you thank God? How do you have? You know, so I bet you've gotten this question from kids. How can you still believe in God after all this?
Is it stronger or less?
That's funny. My sister didn't feel to pray or to go to the synagogue, and I am the opposite. I still think it had to happen. I still think God helped us to get, I don't know, I can say what I feel, you know, but I'm stronger in religion and I'm stronger in believing. Didn't have, it has nothing to do. A lot of people, they said, no God, where was God? Even my sister said that.
even your husband said that. If my father had not married you,
He would be
wouldn't-
the worst if he wouldn't marry me. I made him a good Jew. He went to the synagogue and he told me in the lager we were dating, he said to me, don't expect me to marry you because I want to go to the French Legion. I said, who told you to marry me? I don't want to get married. I was barely 20. So that was in May, and in January, but he told everybody that I asked him to marry me. You know, men, I was begging to marry him. It wasn't true. He was a joker. He was a lovely man.
When did he pass away?
5 years ago.
5 years ago. But you were married a long time.
Yeah, 62 or 63, something like that.
And what did he do? When he came to Canada, was he able to, did he have a profession? Did he work in it? What did he do?
The profession didn't matter anything, because what was good there, they didn't know that. But he managed, he made a life. I was working, he was working, and it was okay.
Well, you had a long, lovely life.
A
I know
lovely,
it too.
long,
You had
lovely
two-
life.
You have two great kids.
Some
She's listening, but you can still say she was great.
Yeah.
It's okay to say that.
in every wedding, everything where some thing didn't go the way you wanted, but listen, after all, it shows
Tell Anita,
that it was okay.
tell Anita the story of when Daddy asked you to go to give you the scarf?
Yeah, we were in the lager, and the Polish people made a dance. And we went to the dance, and we were dancing with him, with all boys. And he said to me, listen, I have a beautiful silver scarf. I'll give it to you. You come with me. So we go to the room, and he opened the door that I should go in, and it was dark. He said, oh, the boys living together. He said, oh, they took off the bulb. Probably they need it for the sun. I said, listen, I'm not going in a dark room. I don't know you, because it's a little dance doesn't mean I have to go in. So I was the fifth one who didn't get in, and he married me.
There was no
There
such
was no
scarf.
There
I
was
see.
no,
Just a dark room.
Just a dark
there
room.
was,
without
I
a
didn't
bulb.
want to go in. I said, in a dark room, I'm not going
The
in.
woman with principles and the will to survive. That's what we're learning about you. Those are two very good qualities. Very good qualities. Well, thank you. Anybody else? Sir, and you look like you have a
Anybody
question.
want to ask something, or should I tell what the little boy asked me?
No.
No?
What little boy?
That's what I'm going to think of the German people.
No. Thank you.
And
Thank you. We don't need to hear that.
Sir,
Picking up from
Loud.
picking up from an earlier question about faith, when you were in the camps, were you allowed to talk to each other about faith?
With my husband?
No, when you
no,
were in
when you were in the
Auschwitz.
camps, you had some time to talk with the other women around you. What would you talk about? Would you talk about the Jewish holidays? Would you talk about why God, was doing what He was doing to you? What would you talk about?
I always talked about faith, and what I always was religious, not big, but just I was talking. I just have one more. My mother, I was working in the kitchen, peeling potato and beets, and the juice of the beets, they gave it to me. And I washed my hair in that water, red water. And I had to get up 5 o'clock in the morning. So I said, and had the three of us was in one bed, if you call it bed. And I said to my sister that we had a scarf, and it's so cold outside, I would like to put it around my neck. So she said to my mother, I go to my mother and I want to take off the scarf from her neck. So my sister said, don't bother, she died. So we were sleeping together, three of us, and she was already dead. But I tell you something, you won't believe it how strong people, not just me, everybody was. It's nothing felt sorry, nothing, we didn't cry, People were so different, so strong. If you would, God forbid, sleeping with your mother and if she was dead, it's the end of the world. Not there. Not there. There was nothing to to talk about it. So there was a woman, and she had a little prayer book in a string, and I said to her, she was from the same city as my father, so she knew the name. I said, listen, I beg you, don't throw her down. She's dead. Oh. So she went up, and she held my mother's shoulder, and she let it down. And she said a little prayer, because she had a tiny little prayer. And then, like anybody else, they took her out. And every day, and it was snowing, it was so cold. And every day I went out to see how much snow. And one day, I couldn't see anymore because the snow covered the corpse. So, things like that.
Yeah, just,
And I didn't had one, so sorry, or I didn't cry.
but because you knew you had to be strong.
I have to be strong, and she wasn't the first one, and she wasn't the last one. You know, you could see in pictures the corpse.
Tell us what you say you were in the camps 13 months. What was Liberation Day like? Did you know what was happening? Where were you liberated from?
We didn't know because we were on a dinghy. It wasn't
No, you weren't liberated from Auschwitz.
No.
You were liberated from Stutthof.
Yeah.
Which
They
was
took her on the march, and they ended up in
doesn't
Stutthof.
matter.
so you were marched out of Auschwitz
Yeah,
to Stuttgart?
and we saw my people yelling and screaming, and we didn't know what happens. So finally, we went to a football field, a huge football field by foot, because by that time when the people, the SS were running away. You couldn't find any. They all ran away. So we went to that football field, and in barrels wrote sauerkraut and cherry and apple and cottage cheese and you name it. People got eating like no tomorrow, and so many got sick, even my sister. And then they took them to there was a hospital, and I had already a little hair, and right away the first thing they did, cut your hair. So they cut my sister's hair, and I said, not my hair. You're not going to cut my hair. So I had to sign a paper that I was telling them, if anything happens to me, it's not the hospital's responsibility, because I didn't let them, and I didn't let them cut my hair. It was that much.
And so that you know, the hair and everything, these people were covered with lice.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't.
So you know, you can tell people, because it's so much, you know, sometimes it's really unbelievable. I don't know, you listen, but I don't know, it goes in. I'm gonna live with it as long as I live.
I've done some talking to students about it, and I've read about it, and I've spoken
in
to
10
people.
minutes,
I can't believe it.
In 10 minutes, you forget.
Personally, I think no one should forget, But we have to find a way to move forward
yeah,
and work
to
together.
move forward, you can always just thinking of that, because we have to say never again, and that cost you a lot. For me, I paid a lot.
Well, it's a hope I think we all share, never again, and thank you for.
You're
I hope
very
it wasn't
welcome.
too
I'm
hard
very
for
glad
you.
that I could talk to you and just fight of never again.
Well, I think that's what we're all dedicated here to you know, that's what this organization was founded to do, to
Yeah.
bring people together so that never again, in its own way, is a reality. So
And
thank you
know,
for that
the
inspiration.
anti-Semitism, you know, all over, that you have to fight.
Well, we've heard it here today from Irene Csillag, and thank you Judy for facilitating this. Thank you everybody, and that's the conclusion of this video. Thank you.